Recording. Okay. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to Success Paradigms, episode 25. My name is Emilio Garcia, and with me is, as always, my co-host, Mr. Andrew Barker. Can you believe it's 25 now, Andrew?
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know, right? Anyway, today we have a great friend of mine, Mr. David Jeiel. Jeiel is the way you pronounce it, right? Okay.
Like a biblical name to throw people off a little bit. Yeah, you got it perfect.
Very cool. Well, for you guys who don't know, David is one of the owners of Estilo Gaucho, e.g. Steakhouse now, because I know Estilo Gaucho was too much for a lot of people, right?
For the gringos?
Too many syllables.
Yeah. And the pronunciation and all that, it just messed with people. But David and I met back in one of the World Cups when you had just opened the restaurant. So
7 years ago, man. That's been a while, isn't it?
7 years, yeah. So it's been a while, but it's been a true experience, and it's one of those that we'll go through the story. But we met as him, the owner of the restaurant, and I was just a client, and we've developed a friendship through the years. And I just wanted to have you here because I know what success is in many minds, and I've seen what you guys have done, especially through COVID, and we'll get into that. And you're truly an inspiration to a lot of us. So, David, let's start from the beginning. You're Brazilian, but were you born in Brazil? Born here? What's the story?
Well, let me preface by saying I'm honored, gentlemen. 25 is 25 more than I am, so I'm ecstatic for you guys, and so honored to be a part of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am
Thank
from
you.
Brazil, actually born and raised in Brazil. Had a little bit of a nomadic life growing up.
Which city? Give us a little flavor. Which city?
So I was actually born in São Paulo, so in the not so little city of 22 million people. You know, it's
not
like
populated.
It's like an episode of Cheers. Everybody knows your name, kind of. So, yeah, so I come from what I regard as the concrete jungle. You know, São Paulo is the epicenter of Latin American or South American, finance. A lot of people can say, and culture, and among many other things. But I was actually born and raised there in São Paulo, and I have a minister father and a lawyer mother. So
Wow.
we had a little bit of a nomadic life growing up. Among the other things my father did, he was an architect, and so much of my life in Brazil and early when we moved to the States also, we were always kind of, establishing ourselves in an area. My father would actually build a church, pastored for a while, and we would move on to the next. So I guess you can say I've been in hospitality my whole life, because it's always in a way, I guess you could say it's in service of others, I suppose. But that was
the PR in the blood.
Hey man, that was the work from early on until in the mid '80s. We managed to find ourselves in the States. And very, very, very seldomly do we hear of it being reversed. Usually missionaries go from America to the world over, and us Brazilians said, let's go be missionaries in America, which was a bit of a curveball, even though we didn't know how to play baseball and kind of still don't. So. But we managed to come to the States in the mid '80s and finished my schooling here. And in the middle,
That was a good time to be in the States.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, and it's still an amazing time. I think perspective is all we really need. But yeah, I think today I consider myself very much an American. I tell everyone that 40 years into this thing, or however long it's been now, I'm still a Brazilian citizen, but I kind of clothe myself in the red, white, and blue. But what's undeniable is that if you were to prick my hand, I still bleed the green and yellow of Brazil, and I can't ever lose that. And so, what better way today and for the last 7 years is we've known each other, actually almost 8 now, to represent kind of something that I can't deny, which is my heritage. We opened up Estilo Gaúcho, my brother-in-law Alex and myself, kind of I can't say it's out of the blue because it's always been a dream. You know, we always want to carry this banner and kind of do something for ourselves and be able to represent something tremendous. And having helped what has become chains um, grow and succeed here in the States, we felt we were ripe to carry it for ourselves. So we jumped in the pool head first in about 2012 and started looking for opportunities. You know, who's
So
going to give boys from Brazil an opportunity to open their own place and their own Brazilian steakhouse and kind of go after our piece of the American dream pie, I guess.
so did you come from Brazil direct to Dallas, or?
We did. Dallas actually was our very first stop. We moved to Dallas in the 80s. Believe it or not, I have an aunt who I guess maybe might have been in the early 70s. Had done an exchange student program here, and she decided to pick up Dallas as the place because of the soap opera Dallas, which was worldwide at the time. And so it's embarrassing to say, you know, we picked Dallas not because of the Cowboys or because of oil or because of all these things. We came to Dallas because of a soap opera. I'm embarrassed to say, but happy we made that decision, because even though I lived in Miami for 10 years, we lived in actually in Overland Park in the suburb of Kansas City for a little bit also. We always found our way back to Dallas. And so there was lots of moving around from the 80s till about 2000. And about 2001 is when I can say definitively.
Even Miami, I think everyone will totally get. But Kansas City, you said?
Yeah, that is the other curveball, right? And so there is an ungodly number of Brazilians in Miami, so that was the reason why we were there. But among the drops here and there, where my father was building churches and pastoring, and
So sorry. Okay.
Kansas was one of them, and so it is very homey. It is very safe. It is very cookie cutter and all these amazing things. Unfortunately, not for me. And so I was happy when we actually moved to Miami after that, and eventually found our way back to Dallas. And now I get to live here with, you know, my parents are here. All my sisters live in town. You know, I've got aunts and uncles, and so it seems like Dallas became the hub for our family, and
That's awesome.
keep it that way.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I lived in Miami for a while.
Did you really? How did you?
About 2 years.
Yeah.
That was my entry point to the U.S. actually.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
When I lived there, it was not the Miami you see and hear of today, right? It wasn't necessarily the party town everybody talks about, you know, Ocean Drive and that quarter mile. You know,
Right.
Miami is a little bit bigger. It certainly doesn't rival in size to DFW, but I had a great time. I was there not to party per se. If I were to do business today, I'm happy to be right where I am and not there also. So.
Yeah, especially because
To visit,
you got a kid now, so.
I do have a kid, as you can see behind me. I'm praying. I came home because the internet here is a little bit better, and I'm praying she doesn't wake up. Otherwise, everybody's going to get a first-hand introduction.
Well, if that's
fine.
if that's how it goes, that's fine.
That's it,
That's
man.
no problem. Hey, my daughter is taking voice lessons, so you might get first-hand
Well,
experience.
I'm still waiting for you to write that book, man. Cece's on 2 now. Yours at least is becoming a fine adult, and so I got plenty to learn along the way.
Yeah, well, I don't know about
So
that.
David, this child is your first?
It is my first. I
She's
started.
what, about 3?
She is 2. She just turned 2 a few months
This little baby.
Yes, I like to say she's 2 going on 33 or something. I don't know, because she already bosses me around like it.
Oh, it doesn't change. Just
It does it? No. Pray for me.
that much I can tell you. Get used to it.
Yeah,
So-
I have to echo Emilio on that one.
So let's talk a little bit more about the restaurant that's been almost 8 years.
Yeah.
But you obviously didn't start your working career with your own restaurant. Did you work a different one, a chain or something before, or?
You know, Emilio, I think that there's not a whole lot of people, I think, um, that dreams of going into the restaurant industry. You know, maybe when we're young and we like to cook, we have, you know, these visions and these plans to one time have our own. And of all the things we do in life, as most business owners and business people in general notice very, very quickly, you know, the romance and the reality are very, very, very far apart. And so I never dreamt of going into restaurants. I kind of fell into it because everything else was failing, to be honest with you. At the time I first started working in restaurants, um, I actually started working in restaurants in about 2009, early 2010. Just before then, my father and I had started kind of going into business together. We were jumping into the housing boom. Let's invest in homes and flip houses and all these kinds of things. It was great for a little time. We got in a little late to that game, and 2008 kind of did me over. I literally lost everything I had. I had just gotten married and didn't have, you know, a rock to call a pillow. And so Alex, who is my brother-in-law, the only thing he's ever done in life is actually restaurants. It's always been his passion. That's his deal. He said, "Well, listen, you know, we're nearing the holiday season, and we need a few extra hands. You want to come in and, you know, help bartend?" And it was kind of funny because I'm like, "Listen, man, I'm a preacher's kid. Okay, I've never had alcohol. You know, you want me to make a cocktail? I can't even open a wine bottle. You know, I can't open a beer cap. You know what I mean? Is it this way or that way? How do you twist this thing?" And then he was like, no, just figure it out. Just figure it out. Just if you can just talk to people. I'm like, "Yeah, I go talk to people." And I spent December working at a bar and only knowing how to make one cocktail because I'd lose my Brazilian card if I told you I can't make a caipirinha, right? And so I learned how to make a caipirinha. And in the story I tell a lot of our staff is like, you know, I was given a guitar with one string and I only knew how to play one note. But you
But you make everyone dance.
the hand you're dealt is the hand you're going to play. And little by little, I started getting a feel for it. At the end of that month, I'm like, well, I know one thing. I really don't want to bartend, but the hospitality bug in a way kind of bit me a little bit because people are always amazing. You know, what kind of life would you have? We know now in the middle of COVID how much we long for the human interaction. You know, Zoom is great, but I want to give you a hug on Thursday. You know what I mean? Um, we long for that, and I think that connected with me in a big way. And so I got with Alex and said, well, listen, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to try this out, but if I'm going to jump into this pool head first, I want to be able to look at the deep end and say, let's go. So before I even touched the tray and did the whole deal, I got with him and said, listen, the end goal is we're going to do this ourselves. And so in 2010, I pretended to learn to be a bartender, and one day, the next day, you learn how to serve and how to be a waiter and what it's like to work in that dynamic with the front of the house and the back of the house and guests and busy days and slow days and everything else in between. But the end goal was okay. Let's.
So David, after being a waiter, did you regret giving up being the bartender?
No, because when you do one, by default you do the other. You know,
Okay.
you have to do both, and so because the Brazilian steakhouse concept was the only one that I was ever familiar with. It's one that sometimes don't always gel. I think because of the concept, because of the experience that we tend to provide in churrascarias, you know, the connotations and the pretense and all the things that accompanies it. It's not so much, oh, let me have a few drinks and unwind. It's, listen, I'm there for a celebration. And so bars, in for example, at EG, even sometimes, they become glorified waiting areas where you go to decompress and then have dinner. Very seldomly do you go there to unwind and to just enjoy that because there's so much more that can be had and so much more to offer. And so I think in conversation with a lot of guests, they tell me that they would be doing themselves a disservice if they were to come in and just have a cocktail and an appetizer and leave. They want in and they want to have the whole experience.
Okay, great.
So when you're a server in what we do, by default, you have to be able to do both. Sometimes we make craft cocktails tableside. And so one does not exist without the other. So even though I told myself that I didn't want to bartend, I've never been able to escape it. On Saturday, I bartended a lot. And so I was very happy for it because I think slowly people are coming back to normal.
David, I hate to say this, but sadly, some of the listeners and viewers may not be familiar with the Brazilian. I know it's hard to believe, but may not have had that experience with Brazilian Steakhouse yet. Could you just quickly give? I'm jumping in again.
As a Brazilian, this is how I view it. We know that much like you can be in Dallas and have Tex-Mex and have or Mexican food and things like that, and sometimes to some it might be offensive what we consider, and some not others. In Brazil, for us, it was always an experience to experiment. I tell people that us Brazilians, we're non-committal when we go out to eat. We can't decide on a dish. And so when we go out, we want one of everything. The romance behind the Brazilian steakhouse concept is such that it originated in southern Brazil, where largely farmers and ranchers kind of dominate the entire land. It's all farmland. And at the end of weeks and days or months or seasons, everyone would come together. And if I farm corn or soy or whatever it is, and the other one's a cattle rancher, and the other one is, we'd all come together with whatever the fruit of our labor happened to be. And celebrate that moment, right? And kind of a great big potluck, and to say we'd have this, we'd have this. Over time, it kind of moved up as more of a restaurant concept where people come in and it's like, oh, how can I experiment with all of this? And
that's fascinating. I didn't know the history behind it. I mean, I love the food and the concept.
That's the romance. If I'm going to give it to you straight, what we now know as a Brazilian steakhouse originated as a truckside stop in the interior of São Paulo, because there was a little restaurant next to a gas station, and they sold steaks because there were just enough in the countryside to be able to offer different kinds of meats. And the owner there, and he would never know when they would stop. So sometimes they would trickle in, and sometimes they would all come in at the same time. So what happened is he told his servers and the people in the kitchen, said, you know what, just cook everything. And instead of asking them tableside what it is that they want to have the kitchen make, you say, hey, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And slowly we tried to, white glove it in a way, make it a little bit of a refined experience. But the romance it's very ingrained in our heritage as Southern Brazilians. The truth is that it used to be a truckside stop where a restaurant just got hammered with people. They didn't even have time to ask who wanted what, so they just offered everything to everybody.
Wow. So it's kind of like one of my favorite things.
What it is.
One of my favorite things, honestly, and EG is one of the only ones, at least to me, maybe because they know me, that they actually offer the feijoada.
Of course, yeah.
Well, most of the other places don't do it. And if I understand the history correctly, that's also kind of something like that, right? Wasn't it the dish that the slaves did with all the spare parts of the week?
It's amazing how we can take the worst of things and create it into the best of things. So the feijoada, which to this day is still Brazil's national dish, originated with slaves. Brazil was one of the last, if not the last country to abolish slavery. And it just used to be that, when you were a slave, you had, it was slim pickings. You couldn't exactly pick and choose what you had. You had on your plate whatever was left over from whatever.
Leftovers, throw them in.
So rice and beans, you were incredibly thankful for that, and whatever else you could add to that, the better. And so sometimes it was, things that are staples of all of a sudden. But pig feet and pig ears and different portions of the chicken or the cow or whatever it was that you put it in there, and essentially you would stew it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to really soften everything out, literally have everything fall off the bone. And in the process of the slaves actually making the feijoada, the smell would become so intoxicating that people from the main house would come over and be like, hey, what are you making over there, right? What are you making? And essentially the refuse. What nobody else wanted was turned into literally the delicacy that is today Brazil's national dish. And so,
Now, when I used to go down to Brazil, was it not that it was only done 2 days a week, quarta-feira and domingo?
yeah, exactly. And so, well, you needed to. It's literally like the black bean stew, and so you needed time. Like a lot of things in life, it takes time, and the longer it marinates, the better it tastes. And that's exactly what it came down to. A lot of times they found that the longer it stewed, the longer it marinated, not only better the taste, but the textures, everything else just kind of melded so amazingly well together. And then it's kind of cool because beyond that, the other thing that we have and we have all the time is farofa, which is the manioc, right?
Novo is novo.
Over it, which again was used back in the day as a way to thicken up the stew and the rice and everything else, right? And sometimes I don't know. I'm gonna have some more tomorrow. Maybe it's Wednesday. I'm gonna have to wait till Sunday before I have some more. So I got to make this count. So it's amazing to see how so much of the culture in Brazil and what literally permeates the entire nation today started, from the incredibly humble beginnings. And it's kind of cool to do that out. And today, I don't consider what we do at EG kind of truly like a white glove experience. It's an experience that I think for most people just accompanies a celebration, but I don't think it's that far out of the ordinary. It's easy coming from a Brazilian, I suppose.
It's an amazing place, isn't it? As you know, my daughter, anytime she's got to celebrate something, now I got to admit, now she likes bavette.
I was going to say, I did run into her at the bed the other day. So
but bavette, she goes on her own.
Ah, okay.
She takes me to EG.
If Dad comes along, you're going to EG, huh? Well, I'm honored.
And as you know, my brother-in-law, and you know him, Andrew, your tocayo, anytime he's in town, the first stop, it doesn't matter how long he's going to be here, it's got to be EG.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you guys have no idea how honored we are for that. Part of what we've kind of developed over time, not only from the heritage side and having the opportunity to kind of uphold this tradition and this culture that is our own as Brazilians. I often will jokingly say with our staff, listen, if I were ever to put a tattoo on my forehead and say that we're in it for experiences worthy of repetition. Ultimately, I find that the things that we do in life only once, sometimes they're not worth doing at all. But if there's a driving force or a motto or anything for EG, and certainly for Bavette or anything else that we do, it'd be that, man. We want to create a memory, an experience ultimately that people want to relive time and time again.
Yeah.
And so every time I get a chance to see you, the family, or anything, it lets us know that last time we did all right. We did enough for another. And the day I stopped seeing you is the day that I know I messed up big. So I hope that did it helps.
I don't think that's not happening anytime soon. So let's talk a little bit more about success and resiliency, because again, I've known you for 7 or 8 years, and I gotta say, huh?
You've seen a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, but I gotta say, your steakhouse actually has been one of the ones that you see it still be there. You see it always again being up to the expectations. But then, and I remember we were talking about you opening a new concept, which is Bavette. And it was kind of a new concept for the every weekend, every other weekend kind of client, not celebration or whatnot. But I know, because I've been talking to you and whatnot, you were about this close to opening, and then you had issues with the roof.
Yeah.
And we had the pandemic thing happen. So tell us about that one, because I got to say, I mean, and again, we were still in touch, but that was one of the ones when everything happened, I was like feeling that, I don't know if you call it sorrow or just kind of heaviness of saying, oh crap, they're opening a new one. I hope they're doing okay. Yeah. That was on my side. So tell us a little bit about that, because afterwards when I heard the open and I heard the story behind it, I'm like, you darn idiot, why didn't you call me?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, in Portuguese we say sometimes you got to laugh so you don't cry. I think the best things in life always come, unfortunately, with sacrifice and at a cost, which is what makes them worthwhile to begin with. The idea was eventually, from a business standpoint, we know the limitations and we know the successes that we can have within EG and a very ethnic, very niche concept, which is our Brazilian steakhouse. The idea, and I've shared this with you for years now, is in an effort to diversify, in an effort essentially to say, well, listen, my average guest that I can see, 10 times a year, well, if the average person, if that same person goes out to eat, 10, 12 times a month, what are they doing the other 11 times that they're not seeing me? So Alex and I began little by little to kind of gather as much data and to probe and to have everyone gauge, listen, what is it that I like? And we had to look for ourselves also, on the off day we get, what is it that we're doing and why? And ultimately, we know that as a special occasion destination, which EG to this day still is for many, there's this desire, there's this need for something that's familiar, something that is unpretentious, something that, within all its varied components, from the sights, the sounds, certainly the food, the hospitality, and the many things that come together.
Yeah, the service at Bavette is fantastic.
Right? It has to exude comfort, right? I mean, we're all businessmen here. Sometimes we've got to put on this hat. I mean, today I had to be a painter. I had to fix a toilet. Then I had to go home and shower. Then I had to cook. I had to do all these other things, right? How many different hats can we put on today? There comes a time where you say, listen, I don't want to wear any hats. I don't want to wear any masks. I don't want to wear anything. I just want to be and find, a moment of levity and a moment of decompression. I want to, right? And so sometimes we go to a bar, or sometimes we hang out here and there and whatever. And so that's what we wanted to provide. If we have one end of the spectrum, which is, hey, today is going to be unlike any other day. If it's a special occasion, I'm celebrating this, I'm celebrating that, or it's a business deal or something. Well, great. That's what EG lives for, is to make this moment unlike any other. Well, the polar opposite of that is, listen, man, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I want to grab a drink, I want to have a bite, and I want to go home, right? And so we wanted to all of a sudden be able to provide that. If we can provide the prestige for a moment on one end, and I honor someone for just being who they are and make sure they have comfort in that, well, that's where Bavette came along. We wanted to create what I introduced to everyone as an American bistro. My definition of an American bistro is a hole in the wall with comfort food. That's it.
Well, it's not a hole in the wall, that I gotta say.
No, definitely not. What does Bavette mean? What's the name? Where did the name come from? Or
the Bavette? So Bavette is actually an ode to maybe my favorite cut of meat, which is as much as a Brazilian, I love the picanha. The bottom sirloin, or what we call a fraldinha in Brazil. The technical, the French name, if you were to go to maybe like Hirsch's over here in Plano, a very nice butcher shop, you say, listen, man, I'm looking for the beef bottom sirloin, the fraldinha. The French name, the technical name for it is Bavette. And so even though,
okay, thank you. Didn't know that.
Even though we're not a steakhouse, I said, well, here's our chance to have a name that honestly sounds pretty cool, but it could be kind of like a little bit of a nod to who we are and where we've come from, and certainly where we want to go.
Right.
So it's a question I love to receive when I'm at Bavette. They come out with this, and no, Bavette's not my mother's name. It's not my little pet dog. Like that. It's
one thing I want to mention, Andrew, and you might not know this, but when he said a hole in the wall, and I said no, it's actually really nice. Half of the not the furniture, but the place itself, it was not just blood, sweat, and tears. It also included a scar.
Everything.
No, it includes a scar, and you can show it.
There was scars, man. I had like 9 stitches over here.
I'm sorry.
I will say this: the benefit of the upbringing with the architect and contractor, Dad is that I grew up going to essentially construction sites and doing projects with them and things like that. And so, you know, in this day and age, when all of a sudden you're starting a business and you see how much money can be sunk into fixtures and furniture and all these other things, there's times where you got to roll up your sleeve and say, well, listen, as much as I want to be able to pay for these things, I'm going to go a few sleepless nights and I'm going to do it myself. And so, believe it or not, you know, when it came to EG, Alex and I and my dad and essentially my sisters, we laid that tile down and we painted and we did bulk of the original, because essentially we had nothing to begin with. And then a few years ago, when we wanted to do a refresh and a remodel, the bulk of that we actually did ourselves also. You know, we have to, you know, as business owners, we got to stretch every dollar. Sometimes it means you've got to do it yourself. And so,
Hey, I got a little project at home. I don't know what
you're
you're
really
thinking.
put it on my list for me, right? We'll put it. I'll stop by this week and see what we can do. But you know, I think it's part of doing your own thing. You know, success doesn't come without its fair share of, like you said, blood, sweat, and tears. And sometimes we're not trying to be metaphorical or romantic about it. It's literal.
Literal.
Tears. It's literal sweat, and sometimes it's literal blood. So. Yeah, we don't shy away from that. I keep telling myself, and I keep telling the wife, and certainly Alex, that you know, we want to get to a point where we can kind of have the project and you know, get with proper designers and all these professionals to really make it happen. But
I got to echo Emilio here. I've been to the vet twice now because of my experience. And I, as a listener, viewers, I'm just meeting David,
yeah,
as you all are. But it looks like a classy joint in photos, and you get there, and it's classy casual is what I call it. I'm not a restaurant guy, but I wouldn't walk in there in a ripped t-shirt. But yeah, you can walk in casual, but it does not look.
well, it's because you need a nice
It doesn't look like you and your
you
sister
need a
built
classy hole in the wall, is what you need.
it. Yeah. Okay, classy hole in the wall. There we go.
Classy hole in the wall. Is that a thing? We just coined it, right?
But I mean, to your credit, like you guys did a great job, because it looks pro.
I'm on it. I'm on it. And
It's
again,
really cozy.
yeah, the idea behind that one is it's you know, if you know, if we had a loft, if we had an apartment that big, what would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it smell like? That was kind of the influence behind there. You know, so literally you're coming into my apartment, and so you know the music that's playing is what we have, the lights and the furniture and those kinds of things. We wanted to make it seem like you were literally coming into our home. Like the idea of comfort is literally what kind of permeated every piece of the design process of our menu development. It was just literally to provide an escape. And how, you know, apropos it is all of a sudden that, you know, Emilio, even though we had so many obstacles in 2019 from the patio, I mean, the building itself. So we're in Granite Park. Granite Park has been there usually for 20 years. This particular restaurant, this is a second generation, or honestly, if you count how many generations, I think of maybe the fourth tenant there. It's been there for easily 15 years, and the patios existed for 15 years. And it seems like every step of the way, there were other, you know, curveballs being thrown at us. And I can't stress enough that I'm Brazilian and I don't play baseball, right? And so, you know, I think when we had met, you had gotten me once after a meeting with the city, and they were hounding us because even though the building's been there for, you know, going on 2 decades, no one had ever permitted the patio. And so they weren't giving us the C of O until we either tore the patio down, as in got rid of it entirely, or provided schematics and architectural drawings and waivers from everybody from the sewage company and telephone, and anybody who might have any sort of lines or anything from underneath it, or like 5 feet within the patio itself. And so it was a bit of a nightmare at first. And so thankfully, some folks over at Granite Park were able to kind of help us dig some non-digital, you know, transcripts and communications. Because, you know, the city's been there. I mean, I got to go over there. And like I was talking to the mayor, you know, Mayor Harry was like, yeah, I've been there a bunch of times. Like, so the mayor knows the patio exists. Why are you giving me trouble for it? And so it seemed like after we got rid of all of, you know, the patio and the roof and and all these other things happening, and we're ready to get going. COVID happened. Ah, you gotta be kidding me, man. We spent the last 6 months trying to overcome all these things for what we felt was a relatively, I guess, simple renovation, because we were going for the homey, for something very classic. And so even though we took everything to studs, we don't have, the fountains and the shooting rainbows or whatever. I just wanted it to look like an apartment, my apartment, I guess, if I had one. COVID comes around, and then you have to decide, well, first and foremost, we have to, what's the word of the year for 2020? Pivot, all right? We have to pivot at EG, because while we have, private dining spaces and the special occasion kind of thing, the experience we've always provided is not something you can easily box and bag and say, here you go, enjoy at home. So we had to kind of discover how to provide a semblance of that from scratch. So April was kind of tough. March, April, there were tough months that we put everything at Bavette on hold, and we took it upon ourselves to kind of even remodel some more at EG, and we were just determined to say, I don't care what they keep throwing at us, but we're going to find ways to invent ourselves if necessary. And so the silver lining behind all of that is that we have thankfully been able to, as a result of COVID, develop an entire to-go experience for EG, as well as catering. Right, all of a sudden, that's something that when people call and say, well, it's kind of not something we do. Now it's like, absolutely. What do you need it for? When and for how many?
Yeah.
Right. And so we're gladly doing that now. And so we did a lot of that. And then I think it was sometime in July, I'm looking at Alex and we're like, okay, listen, this COVID thing is not going away. But, at this point, we're into rent over at Bavette. So there's no way we're struggling and repositioning ourselves with one, and the other one, which we can't open because 92% of Granite Park is home. Now I got to pay rent on that and here and that. And so we said, well, listen, man, our life has been a series of jumping into the pool head first, whether we learn how to doggy paddle first or we're doing backstrokes. Is we know we're going to get wet, so we might as well start swimming. Right. And so late July, August, we said, okay, let's get Bavette up and going. It's been up and down on that one. We know that when you open as an amenity to a group of people in the hotel that are just there, we're not looking to be a destination there. We want those that are in and around the area to see us as a place where they can go to comfortable, to relax, and unwind in a classy hole in the wall. So we're so thankful that our network of friends and guests from EG and others have been able to come and check things out and give us valuable feedback as we continue to fine tune things, all in an effort to still provide an experience that's worthy of repetition. So it's so special to us that in the midst of all the obstacles with, we're at 50%, we're at 25%, we're at 75%, it's mask, it's not mask. Oh my goodness, my neighbor's sister's catwalker's friend got COVID, so now I got to shut down and clean everything again. And I mean, I tell people I no longer have fingerprints from all the sanitizing we have to do. But you know what? Today it's a par for the course. It became, for as much as we've been joking for the last, I don't know how many months about the new normal, what that is or isn't. Here we are, all of a sudden, extensive sanitation and things that we were having to do once a month per guidelines, and quite frankly, because there was no need to do it more frequency. Now we got to do it twice a week. And so costs go up here and sacrificed here and there, but ultimately it's you play the hand you're dealt, and if at the end of the day you find a way to reinvent yourself and
congratulations, because your casual hole in the wall has the best burger I've had in Dallas, and that's saying something, because the burgers in Dallas are good.
I know Alex was working on that to have a third pick.
That burger,
that's been Alex's baby for a minute.
Well, tell Alex he got a home run on it, because
I will let him know. Yeah,
this is not even like a burger specialty joint, and
no.
mind blowing.
On the wall, man. Well, and that's the other thing, right? I find that a lot of times, especially in the kitchen, it's one thing for you to grab a hold of something that needs a little work. I think that's something that I'm very proud and fearful still, because one of the sacrifices, one of the compromises we have not made, especially in the age of COVID, is, well, listen, sometimes there's particular product that is becoming unavailable, especially if it's of a particular quality. And somehow you've got to make do. So if I can't do this, I'm going to serve this and things like that. And because we age in house, because we're not so mom and pop, but we're certainly not a conglomerate. We have some purchasing power given the number of covers we've been able to do in the past. Aging in house and having the ability to go a lot of times to even farmers and ranchers and say, hey, listen, this is how much I need. This is what I need you to do with it. We do a lot of butchering in house. And so because we essentially work in very favorable terms to these large producers, we're able to procure. And so
That's fantastic. I had no idea you were doing the
so
butchering.
even on the burger, we not only use USDA prime, but it's aged in house for a minimum of 65 days. And this is the burger we're talking about. So imagine what we're trying to do with the actual pieces of steak and things like that. So it's a tremendous point of pride for us, even on the burger, to say, you know what, I'm not going to cut corners. I'm not going to throw chuck and all these other things in there. I'm not going to. No, it's still it's a trio blend, if you would, of short rib, of culat, which a lot of us know as picanha, and bavette, right? And it's in the perfect portions that makes Alex and hopefully others also very happy with.
Yeah, I don't say it lightly. It's
I'm
amazing.
fighting with him because sometimes I'm dude, man, I put 20%. No, it's got to be 21 and a half.
Alex, let Alex know what he's doing. Don't share that recipe anymore, guys.
And so it's so awesome to hear that there are guests out there that can see and taste the difference.
Yeah, no doubt. No.
It gives us such a renewed sense of purpose, honestly, to be honest with you, when we go to lengths to make sure that, hey, listen, I don't care period of whatever, we're still going to want to provide something that people are going to taste and say, man, I got to do that again, and I got to do that again. And we'll only know that you really enjoyed it if you come out and enjoy another one. So
yeah, no, it was.
Well,
I had such a good
I took
time
him there that day that we did the mixer, and
Alex was experimenting.
he was back that same weekend.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's true. Yes, my first time when I met your burger was for the Latin America Networker, and then I wife how amazing the food was, and we said let's just go this Saturday. So the whole family went on Saturday, and again, it's I wasn't paid to say this. I don't get any discount. One of my favorite places in north of Dallas. The service was phenomenal. I mean, the waiter was, couldn't have been more pleasant. Couldn't have.
So
He just bent over backwards. The food was phenomenal. I mean,
I'm honored. You have no idea.
and I got to tell you, I'm from New York City. I lived in Mexico City 13 years. My wife's from Mexico City, so we don't give easy. We're not easy.
Yeah.
I find myself.
You're hard to please. You're hard to please. I hear. Huh?
Yeah. So anyway, you could just count us amongst your, new fans, and thank you, Emilio.
Listen, we want to be worthy of that always. You have no idea.
Yeah.
We want to be worthy of that. I think none of this comes easy, but I think as business owners, as someone in hospitality, that's exactly why we do what we do.
and you guys are right on track to be really, really successful, and I'm betting it's going to be a lot more to come. I'm still curious about what the next step is going to be. I know we still have COVID, and we got to rebound from all of that and get through all that. But I mean, as I said, my daughter, her whole homecoming party was there with her friends.
And we saw her for her birthday, I think it was also, and
yep. So
it's a unique opportunity for us to, like I said, I maybe it's my way to under promise and over deliver, I guess. I call
Smart.
it, well, right? and call it a hole in the wall. But I think I just want to make sure that there's always never a sense of pretense. But I really want the expectation to be exactly that. If I want a burger, then I want to have one of the better burgers I've ever had. If I want to have a steak, let it be one of the better ones, right? Just because I'm not celebrating something today doesn't mean that I still can't have something that's incredibly worthwhile and of a particular standard. That's
and
we're trying to break.
the standard is there without a doubt. Yeah.
Honored, man.
All right. So as we're winding down, what else is there out there for you? I mean, is baby number 2 coming? All right, that's the end of the show.
Speaking of my parents, it's a conversation that we always have. Sometimes in life, the desire, the drive to build something can get in the way of some very big decisions we have in life. But I think when we know our why and our purpose, the reason for which we're fighting for this to begin with, everything is put into perspective. I'm the only boy, and so maybe it's a Latin American thing where it's like I gotta keep the name going, right? It can't stop. So the desire certainly is there. I'm not going to sit down and have the conversation with the wife about timing, because the timing is never right.
No.
If we knew certain things would happen, sometimes we don't even walk out of the house. But we know that in life, no risk, certainly no reward. And so I very much look forward to having that conversation with the wife. But for the moment, it's I've got a few diapers I still need to change here in house.
Yep.
And a little formula and a few other things that we have to still apply at the other 2 toddlers we got going on in our businesses. But family for me is everything, man. It's why we get up in the morning. It's why we fight for what we do. It's ultimately it's the legacy that we want to. First and foremost is it's the family. If anything, I've always told everyone that I live vicariously through my nieces and nephews, right? Alex has got 3. The oldest, I think, is 10, and the youngest is, I think, 4 right now. And so I'm happy I got to throw my hat into that game and get a little grandchild before my parents, but excited for what the future holds, man. And hopefully there's a little David around the corner. I don't know.
Very cool. Well, David,
Congratulations.
again, thank you very, very much for being a part of this. We'll text,
Yes,
we'll put all your information for both places, because definitely it's
Let me
both
know,
of
man.
them are places to
We
go.
got an event on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
We're going to
Thursday?
see you on
Let's
Thursday.
do this. Let's come out. Everybody that joins you on Thursday, I'll make sure they get a gift card so they can go and experience the Bavette also.
Oh my God, awesome.
Maybe they want to try that burger you enjoy. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that it's with my compliments.
Definitely will.
Awesome. Thank you,
I
David.
look forward to seeing you gentlemen, and certainly anybody else that's willing to come out and have a great time with us.
Yeah, we'll have a good time, that's for sure.
I'll make sure that we have an opportunity to do it again across the street at
There we
Bavette.
go.
All right.
We'll do it
Awesome.
again. Definitely.
I want to make it happen for everybody. Okay.
Sounds awesome.
David, congratulations and thank you again.
I'm so honored, gentlemen. You have no idea. It's an honor to connect with you and Zoom and in person and in any other capacity we can. I think, like I said, this human element for me is something that I've missed so much in the age of COVID.
Oh God, yeah.
To at least see you across the web over here is already a wonderful experience this Monday afternoon. But again, I can't wait to do it in person again soon.
We'll see you Thursday, sir.
Can't wait.
Thank you very much. This
Ciao.
has been Success Paradigms with special guest David Jeiel. And my name is Emilio Garcia, and with me is Mr. Andrew Barker, as always. Whoever
Thank you,
wants to
everyone.
come, you heard it. We're having our mixer on Thursday, and you'll get a gift card to go to Babette. So
Can't beat
see you
that.
Thursday, 5:30 at the Estilo Gaucho, EG Steaks.
Okay, can't wait. Ciao,
See you
ciao.
there. Ciao. Bye now. Thank you, David.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks, guys.